Welcome back to Unfiltered with Matt and Nige. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm more excited than you are. Hang on, why are you just all right?
I'm no all right. I feel like I feel you've been on a great big global adventure, and I've just been working, and it's Friday
Uh,
afternoon.
it is Friday afternoon. I have been on a global adventure, but I have also been working. And to be fair, we're recording this and we've been chatting away for the last hour, which is what we normally end up doing.
Maybe that's why I feel flat. Just exhausted.
Oh, I've just
No, mate, I'm
extracted
feeling good.
all the energy out of you already. How's your week?
No.
Where have you been? Are you in Bristol? Are you travelling? What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I think I had been in Bristol. Yeah, no, I have been in Bristol because I know that I have been into my boys' school 3 afternoons this week. It takes a toll. I tell you, like all this time out of the office. But yeah, so I've been in Bristol, firmly rooted on lots of. You must do this as well, just like my evenings, my evening calls with the States and Canada and the rest, right? So long days, but loving it. Genuinely, yeah, I don't know. I'm in a happy place. Life is good. Yeah,
The
I should
world
be
is
more
bonkers, but
upbeat.
life is good, right?
Yeah, life is good.
Now,
And tell me, how were your travels? Were they good?
they're awesome.
You
Really
went to
good.
where did you went to Disneyland or something?
I, I actually did go to Disneyland.
Did you
Would you
did you make
believe it?
it?
Yeah, I made it
Oh,
to
well done.
Disneyland. I'm not a Disneyland fan whatsoever. Like it's like the one place you don't want to put Nigel is probably there. But we happened to be at a conference nearby, and we managed to go for dinner there one night. It was fantastic to see the entire team. Then I was in New York with customers and partners and my team. So it's really good. But as you say, like it just takes its toll on you after a while. But you're good. Like the one thing that you mentioned is like it's these evening calls and whatever else. When I spoke to you last, it was last Sunday,
Yeah.
and I was sat in the office. And I'm not sitting there to go, hey, I was sitting in the office on a Sunday. It was more about this whole concept of 996. So like, are we all now doing 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week? Have we gone back to working harder? So it feels like there's a level of energy and effort going into just getting the day job done.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd love to get your view. Like, are you now working harder than ever before? Or are we all working half days because it's super smart with AI?
Yeah, so interesting question. I am working harder than I have ever worked, I think. But I don't know if that is to do with the tooling around me. So I think it's part to do with that. Part to do with how societally we're framing work within our lives. But I think also maybe it's the privilege, if that is the right word, of having your own business. I think it depends on how much you're enjoying it or wanting it, or how hungry
Yeah.
you are, whatever the right thing is, for how the ebb and flow is. Right now, I am all in. And with that, I am thinking like almost as if it was a business day one, right? We're 10 years in as a company, but I am absolutely thinking about business almost in my sleep, right? From the moment I'm awake through to the moment I'm in bed. Uh, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And it is, but with passion, with excitement. Like, yeah, I don't know, from your newsletter randomly. We didn't talk about this in the last hour, but you've got me onto 2 new pods because I was listening to a couple of the videos on YouTube, but I can't watch those when I'm taking the dog for a walk. So and then anyway, moved it over to downloading a pod series like the Lenny podcast, and there was another one I can't
I
remember.
love that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so good, right? And but then I'm on a dog walk now. Okay, it's not working per se, but I'm absolutely tuned in, thinking about work, how that is mapping to my 9 to 5, right? Or maybe
But that's
9 9 6.
all I think. This is almost my point. It's all I think about. Like I was out for a walk this morning, and I had a podcast. And there's always something going on.
Yeah,
I was on the flight back. I had a podcast, and then I just stuck some music on to go to sleep to. So there's always something going on. It's always AI. It's always technology. It's always insurance. It's always like it's all blended together. And I think you and I are lucky enough to be able to turn around and go, we love what we do so much. It doesn't feel like work. There
yes,
are other days where I flashed up my handwritten page or 2 pages of things to do, and you were like taking the mickey going, what, you still write them down? Well, actually, I kind of bounce between writing them down, putting them onto notes, putting them onto tasks, and
sure.
they all go around because there's just so many of them. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that was almost my point. Like, are we?
Are you going to
This,
show the watchers of
no,
this podcast the quill and ink well that you've got as well?
never
Look at you with
under,
a Sharpie. I
never
love a good Sharpie.
underestimate the power of a Sharpie. And there's always a bit of corporate branding somewhere.
And mate, was it so again? Was it on your newsletter where the chat was holding the Sharpie up to GPT? I think it was, and there's
Yeah,
like, what is this? Yeah,
there you
mate,
go.
that's so good, wasn't it? That, but again,
I'm now pleased that you're reading my newsletter on a regular basis and it's getting useful things in there. Actually, I still say, like, the number of people that ping me and go, oh, I read this, thanks for sharing that, that was super interesting, or I don't like that podcast. It's just, and as I said to you ages ago, I write this for me because it's my way of putting my thoughts into almost like your point about a dog walk. What does that mean to me in my business? Like, we were just talking about how you leverage AI in the Sonar platform. And I'm fascinated with people's workflows. So everyone's saying they're using AI to do X, Y, and Z. I use it daily. I was on a call earlier with some of our Canadian friends. They were presenting slides in French. I was literally grabbing screenshots, dumping it into Claude or something else and going, hey, translate this for me. And like that, I was actually staying up to the conversation. You can do the same on Google where it does the
sure.
translation. So like, what are your go-tos? Where do you start? Where do you stop?
Yeah, so so. This is then the part of the 996 which is around the tooling, right? So I am able to produce so much output and positive output, i.e., useful stuff as opposed to just noise, beyond anything I've been able to do in my life today. I swear. And like, and so I'm using, I'm using AI across the board, right? So it's almost like so the two things, like, well, maybe three things I have in my life going on is number one, absolute family first, right? So I will devote as much time, hence being in school 3 times this week, as much time as I'm able to those guys. But when Freddie's at school, my boy, then I will, I'll be as good a husband as I can be, but I'm also working, right? And if I'm not doing that, I'm training. So they are my three parts of my life. In terms of business and training, I'm using AI religiously, right? So from a training perspective, we haven't talked about any of that. For my like nutrition and exercise, my training plan through to June is all ChatGPT, right? Or it's LLMs now. It's a mix, but it was originated there. Go on, you're going to say something.
And is it mapped out nth degree, or are you interacting with it on a daily basis?
So it's mapped out to the nth degree, and then interacting with it every day, possibly multiple times a day. And that's
Okay.
uploading my Strava data, my Whoop data. It's not connected, but it's me manually bringing those two together. So that needs to be a workflow that I organize
Yeah.
better, right?
Yeah.
And then that's changing because sometimes it's like this morning I went to the gym with my pals. That wasn't part of my training program, but I'd rather do that with friends, mix it up a bit, and then actually that then changes the plan for Saturday for Sunday, right? Equally with that, then changes my nutrition, right? So if I'm having certain types of days, I should be eating certain things. I need more carbohydrates here, I need more fats there, and all the rest, right? So boring training chat. Sorry for anyone who's not interested in that. But then from a work perspective,
I like it. It's okay.
Thanks, mate. Thanks. And then from a work perspective, it's how am I getting how am I getting my to-do list all digital? You'd be pleased to know. How am I getting my to-do list done? And then how am I going to get that done most effectively? Because I'm time poor, even though I am probably doing a 996 or equivalent, and that then allows me to have multiple activities running in parallel. So right behind, I can see the tabs on the screen behind me and this conversation right now. I've got a client project going on, which I'm involved in. I'm sponsoring. I've got a new business idea, which is an extension of some stuff that we've talked about. How do we get deeper into conversations across the year as kind of people who are interested in topics? So I've got that going on, and then and then a bunch of other stuff, and so multiple things happening at once, all of which they will come to a head at the time they're ready. But I know that I'll be able to tick off my to-do list with a cadence that is suitable for me growing the business. Yeah, and definitely faster than I can ever do. So
I love it. And actually, I'm going to link it back to your training conversation. On my Whoop, we both wear Whoop devices. Other things exist as well, Auras, whatever else. But this morning, it recognised that I did a busy week last week. it recognized I had a time shift change from New York to London, and it said your resting heart rate or your respiratory rate is lower than it should be. Why don't you go for a walk rather than go for the gym?
Oh,
And I
interesting.
actually felt like it's genuinely got me. It was personalized, it was contextual. And when I first tried the Whoop chat thing out, it was pretty average. It was pretty, actually, it was worse than that. It was really
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that this morning was like Daily Outlook. It genuinely knew me. I've worn it for quite a while. And I thought, actually, this is spot on. I went out for an hour's walk. As I said, I stuck a podcast in. But I thought that was a really good, useful level of insight based on all the work I'd done last week, all the training I did last week, and the fact that I was feeling a bit run down and I was tired. Great.
Yeah.
Off you go. So
Yeah,
that's
I,
great.
I think that AI intelligence in whether it's Garmin or whether it's Whoop, it's something else, is now at a level that is hyper personalized and really sophisticated beyond potentially anything a human can achieve. Right? I mean, like I imagine having a coach. I'm just
Yeah, and I
wondering. I'm
think
just the amount of data they'd have to crunch to get to that point. I just don't know
the
if it's doable.
the more analytic of us would have had a spreadsheet or spreadsheets that are capturing all these
Yeah.
things and doing it manually. All that's going. We've got the input now. We've got the analysis going on, and now it's up to us to go do the work on it. The bit that's missing still for me is why doesn't my health insurance provider not just give me the free device, but actually use the insights to go proactively manage Nigel's health and well-being? Because you can see he travels a lot, you can see he works out or moves every day. Therefore, why shouldn't he be doing X, Y, and Z?
Can you
And
answer
actually,
that
the other
question?
go on.
No, no. Can you answer that question?
No, I have no idea. I wish
So,
they did.
I like, yeah, no, I'm with you. But we sit at the table as you do with senior folk from health insurers around the world, right? And that moving towards prevention over protection is definitely happening. But maybe it's also coming back to the previous conversations we've had around evolution over revolution or transformation over innovation.
Yeah.
It's slow, right? It's really slow, and of course it is.
Why? You look at Matteo Carbone's IoT observatory. He's done a really good job of getting all the companies together to say, "Hey, we're leveraging IoT," but they're leveraging pockets and stuff like that. The evidence is there to say if you understand and are interacting with these things, you can do something cool with the information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's slowly coming, right? But and then there was at a big conference. I think it was in London last week, which was it's talking about POC purgatory. It's the classic. We're taking it so far, but never getting it beyond, and and then all the reasons for that. And I'm sure we talked about that in the last pod, right? From the incentivization at the top layer through to the capability gap at the bottom layer, and all the rest and in between. But it's But I'm excited about what that future looks like, and I think interestingly, seeing these developments that I'm using for my training, then and it's one of the pods I listen to from your newsletter. I'm sure it is,
Yay!
which is the I can't remember the guy who was chatting about it. Oh, in fact, I think it was the Lenny pod. He was interviewing. I'm going to research it while we're chatting, but anyway, and he was talking about the need to inform yourself outside of your known world, right? So first of all, let's not just keep thinking
Yes.
about insurance, right? Let's read, listen, watch everything we can about different industries. But as well as that, he was talking about like the history books. History either repeating itself or there are such good learnings or almost like paradigm shifts that you're able to look at something in the past with the relevancy and contextualization to today's world and think differently as a result. And I love all that. And I do all of that all the time. Like not coming from insurance as well
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
real benefit, even though I've been in this industry for 10 plus years now.
But that's actually what the genesis of the newsletter is, to go, there are things happening outside of our blinkers in insurance that will actually feed in. So I've like whether it's technology or whatever else related, is to be able to go, well, what does that mean to us? What is it we can learn from these things going forward? I was laughing earlier. Our good friend Rory Yates posted a meme on LinkedIn that said employees just aren't ready for AI adoption. And then underneath it, it's got them all in the bunker going, shadow AI division, don't tell leadership they're still working on the policy document. And
Yeah,
that
yeah.
made me laugh because you look at shadow IT over the years and all those things where people used to go, and I worked in contact centers years ago, people would go, we've got an Excel database on our local desktop. It's got all the things that we need, or our SharePoint site that we've built. There was a shadow thing to the corporate thing because the corporate thing was too slow. I mean, you and I were sharing loads of examples before the pod, but our ability to get stuff done and actually move it multiple stages further forward, I think is really cool.
Yeah.
What we need now is an enterprise grade or secure open claw type equivalent that starts to stitch all these things together. Because if we're still doing it in point, if I've got to go to Whoop to get my health insurance and then go do something with it, it's kind of like an extra bit of friction. Help me remove all those friction points.
But I think that's the next generation of play that is out there, and the opportunity, like from an entrepreneur's perspective, because I've been thinking about that both from a business and kind of new business perspective, and I think that kind of that stitching together, that bringing together, but I don't think it's going to be long before those big platform plays are going to be offering something similar, right? Or with such ease that you can bring your world together in some kind of centralized harmony, because it's with a bit of direction, pointing, prompting, if that's going to be the right phrasing around that. Because I think you and I are both in this position of, we have these conversations, and again, it was this same interview he was talking about, like, if you looked at, the people waiting in the Detroit airport lounge, actually none of them are having these conversations at all. It's just us living and breathing this stuff about how fast, how slow, how whatever. But like, we are there with the tech, yet we are still not using it to its full potential in our day-to-day life, right? Or
no, 1,000%. You've just sparked two things immediately. Like number one, the Anthropic report came out, that spider diagram that everyone was posting on LinkedIn, which is really interesting. It said the possibility of AI for every one of these industries around the edge, and then on the inside of it had this spider diagram that'll be in this week's newsletter that had where it's actually being used, and it was a small fraction of its overall opportunity. So I kind of like that, but again, it's almost self-serving and to say, hey, this has got a long way to go. We've just started. Legal, finance, all the usual things, right? If you go back to any of the McKinsey reports, for decades they used to say underwriting would be the most impacted inside insurance, that would lose the most amount of jobs. And as soon as they changed the language from losing jobs to augmenting you, i.e. back to our conversation about Claude co-work and stuff like that, the mindset changed. Like before it was a threat, now it's a how do I become superhuman?
Yeah.
In the same way that Mark Andreessen talks about the merging of product designer, product manager, and engineer. Like you can now do more things because you've got these tools, to your point, at your fingertips that you can do stuff. And then the last thing is Angela Strange from A16Z said, if you're not spending an hour a day playing about doing things outside of your daily job with AI, you're probably falling behind. And I love that comment. It was like it wasn't a license. It was a permission to go play and go be curious about what you should be doing and how else you can just get stuff done faster. I think
we've seen that within the big consultancies, right? I mean, some of them, I think it was Accenture. I listened to the, it wasn't on the same pod, but the interview with the CEO, I can't remember the lady's name.
Sweet.
Judy Sweet. But there was that thing about Accenture where they will be letting people go if they're not using AI and she was saying herself, like, how much of her time was spent skilling up herself, right? And learning about this, because she is there representing that on behalf of, her clients or to her clients. And I had the same conversation with my team this morning, possibly off the back of that, right? Which is, you have to be using this in your day-to-day life. And that's why, as a CEO, I take full responsibility. I'm plugged everything into my Claude co-work, but yet I've still not found either the time or the project or, I don't know, containment that I want it to work on, right? But I think I've got it today, and I cannot wait to get that set up and running, and let's just see what the results are.
But very much like this pod, and you and I agreed to do this probably a year ago, we didn't make time for it. We used to laugh about it all the time. And actually, it's a really good conversation for you and me, back to the way you announced it, in terms of imagine having a good conversation with two mates that just turn the camera on it. if we don't make time for things, if you don't make time for training, you're not going to go and get your PB at the next High adventure or whatever else, right? So we know you will. We know you will. But you
Because I
make
made time for
it.
training.
There you go.
Yeah, no, it's true, right? It's very true. So, come back to the 996 theme. How are you working these days? Because I mean, I think you're always on and available, right? Or not?
I want to say yes and no. Like, it's a really bad habit, and it's like on one side of the coin, you say to people, "Hey, call me whenever," or whatever else. And if you get a customer escalation or your team needs help, of course I'll always be there. That's my ambition. But the other things that you read will turn around to you and say, by always being there, you set the wrong impression or the wrong permissions for people to go, there's nothing off limits. Where's my own time? So actually, genuinely, Friday nights for me, I try and cut down or shut down around 6 or 7 o'clock. But like you, I work across time zones. But I love it. Like, I get up early in the morning. My typical day usually starts around 6 o'clock. I'll check in on what's going on in Asia or whatever else. Then I'll go to the gym at 9 a.m. in the morning. Like, if I'm in the UK, I'll do an hour's class or a 45-minute class and then go into the city or whatever else. So go back 10 years. Nigel 10 years ago wouldn't have been able to go to the gym during the day. I'm like, oh, I can't do that. I'm 9 to 5. I'm quite traditional in that way. Then I come home. I try and take a break in the evening to have dinner with Emma and the kids, which I usually fail at. I'll be really honest, because the kids are off doing different things and dinner's not at the same time and all that sort of stuff. And then I work into the evening because actually it's just enjoyment. And I do balance the go play with that thing over here on, to your point, I've got an idea running over there. I want to build an asset over there for enablement. I want to launch a new thing over here. I've got too many things going on at once. And you could argue what I need to do better is get better at focusing on the things that are going to move the dial for my business, for my life, for my health, whatever it might be.
Would one argue that? Are you doing things that are irrelevant or less important, or?
I'm not going to answer that while you're recording.
Okay. No, but I think, I genuinely, I feel.
Yes. Yeah. Without doubt. But I love the variety. I love the ability to go, on one hand, I've been curious about an insurance value chain and the level of impact or whatever else. Could I have got someone else to help me out and do that? Yeah, of course I could. But you kind of then back to your point about exploring the tools to go, how far this could go.
But I think without that learning, we talked about it where if we don't write, so I write my newsletter, you write your newsletter. That writing allows me to process almost like the week's news or things that I found interesting and curate it into a way that is constructed for others to enjoy. That then stays with me, right? And in fact, because I write mine every fortnight, coming into this conversation, I'm like, I don't even know what the news is that I'm interested in this week because I haven't gone through that journey. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and I find that if you hadn't been curious about this or hadn't taken that random meeting with, person X or whatever it be, then maybe, 3 years down the line, you'd be a weaker version of Nigel, or you wouldn't be, able to answer that question in a client meeting, or have that point of view to be whatever.
And I'm like you. I'm always in the market, meeting people, customers, partners, folks that are adjacent to it, to understand what's your perspective, what's going on, like what's the impact of the issues that we're seeing in the Middle East, what's that doing to the commercial market, what's going on in retail, and I'm really curious to see and learn from all those conversations. They're usually more either a coffee conversation or lunch or whatever else it might be. And then back to how we then construct or bring all those things together. I just had a quick look. I've got 221 things in my list of notes that I've not shared in my newsletter. I'm always just grabbing stuff and then trying to curate and work out what's interesting, what's relevant, what's more important. And again, back to focus, it would be too easy to give you everything and not narrow it down. What's the age-old saying? I'm sorry for the long letter. I didn't have time to write a short one.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
mate, I heard a great. I was listening to a different pod earlier, which finished with the wise owl sits on the broken twig or broken branch. I'm like, when it's just like.
All right, explain.
And it's stuck with me. It's just like why? Anyway, I need to look that one up.
To me. Come on.
I don't know. I mean, the wise owl sits on the broken branch. I need to get ChatGPT on that one. But Yeah, classic, right? But that's how they finish the pod in like these. I don't know,
And
the
now you're going to
patient
think about
man.
it all weekend.
I know, I will, I will.
What's the weekend looking for you? Big conference in London next week.
Yes, that's right. Going to go down to London next week. Yeah, got a load of client meetings in and around that as well. So I don't actually know because we've got so many clients in town from around the world. I don't know how much time I'm actually, and if I'm even able to get to the event itself, which is classic. So
I
let's
think
see.
these things are great at bringing people together. As you said, it's a massive draw. I know Rory and the team have done a good job of doing that. The agenda does look
Yeah,
good,
yeah, it looks great, eh?
but as you said, the city will be buzzing. I say the city, it's not in the city. Just for the record,
No,
it's miles away.
that is, it's in the O2, right? So, or thereabouts. So yeah, this weekend is DIY-tastic tomorrow. Then it's Mother's Day on Sunday. So
Indeed.
I have let my 8-year-old boy choose the restaurant that we're going to for Mother's Day. So let's see how
Am I
that
allowed to
lands.
ask where you're going, or should we not say?
No, very close to where I live. So I'm in Bristol, Clifton Village, just up the hill.
We're not heading to Wagamama's Collective then, are we?
Oh no, you're going there as well. What are you up to?
We're getting mum out of the care home and bringing her back
Ah,
to the
lovely.
house, and so it'll be lovely actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, everyone's going to be at the house. We're going to chill out on Sunday. And like you, I love my DIY Saturdays and Sundays, but like my work life, it is stacked. Like the full day. I love as these days are getting brighter and brighter.
Yeah.
Get out for a walk with the guys in the morning with their respective dogs, chill out, do loads of stuff around the house, and then we're off to a show on Saturday night. So it'll be
What are
really
you going
good.
to see?
I have no idea.
Oh, lovely. Mate, that's nice. You know what I did do this week, which was a highlight, was mowed my lawn. If that isn't like a middle to late aged man. But I remember, like, as I was mowing my lawn, I remember having a neighbour when I was a kid who, he sold his business when he was in his 20s, whatever, and he bought this absolute palace of a place, and this lawn went on forever. And I remember him just going up and down and up and down on this one of these really big mowers. And I was just like, I remember as a kid just thinking, what is he up to right now? That is just my dream, isn't it? I mean,
If you want
lovely.
to laugh and then to tie all this back together before we hit our 30-minute marker, my very first newsletter was a chat GPT generated image of me pushing my lawnmower up and down because I'm always tuned into the Instech Insider podcast, which comes out on Instech London podcast that comes out on a Sunday. And I'm usually there listening to that first thing, texting Matthew and Robin going, like this week, didn't like that week, or whatever else it might be.
Sure.
And they've mentioned it loads of times, but whether it's washing the car or cutting the grass, honestly,
all
it's
great.
no screen time. And it's just like, off you go, plug a podcast in, and off you go.
100%. 100%. Right, good. That was lovely.
Saturday night is Foil Arms and Hog. It's an Irish comedy trio, and they're at the Palladium in London on
Cool.
Saturday night. Be really cool.
That'd be great fun. That'd be so much fun. Good. Are you going down with the family or?
My wife and I and my sister and her husband. Should be good fun.
Lovely.
Really cool.
Well, it was a pleasure chatting as always, Nigel Walsh. Mate, we have to get guests on. We've talked about it a couple of times. I don't know how it's going to work, but we should maybe try for next time.
I
Be
like
fun,
the
couldn't it?
idea. We've got a few people that have said yes already. But today we've got how AI is impacting each and every one of us, what our workflow is, and I'm still fascinated with how people use it to accelerate their everyday life. So maybe that's a theme that we carry through for our folks going forward.
Nice. Love it. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy your show. Happy Mother's Day.
And you, buddy, enjoy.
All right.